Welcome to St. Louis Home Chat. I am your host, Angela Dillmon, at the Dillmon Group, powered by Keller Williams Realty Chesterfield, the #1 selling office in St. Louis. Today we're here with our absolute favorite building inspector, Rick Caby, with Pillar to Post Home Inspections, the Chad Bora team. Today we're going to talk to you about windows, different types of windows, what are their insulation factors, all about the panes of the glass, and just to help you out if you're going to buy windows, if you're buying a home, to try to take a look at the windows and what maybe you could do to improve the windows that you have. So today, Rick, tell us a little bit about the different types of windows.
Absolutely. So what we have here is kind of what I like to refer to as kind of a first generation double pane window. So I'll show you in a minute, but right now we're looking at actually just the single pane, and what it has is an insert or removable second pane. So it's a double pane window. When they refer to panes, that just means how many panes of glass are in the window. You can have a single pane, double pane, and actually triple pane windows, and the more panes you have, typically the better efficiency, energy ratings that the window is going to have.
So they're insulated a little bit better to keep the weather from coming through the glass as much when there's more panes to get through.
Exactly, and there's different thermal seals, which we'll talk about in a minute, and different types of things they actually put in between the glass as an insulator. So I'm going to put this back in here real quick, but like I said, this is kind of the first generation. I call it that because you actually do have two panes of glass, but there isn't a thermal seal in this window. And what we look for when we talk about thermal seals is usually there's a rubber or metal gasket between the two panes of glass, and then that's sealed to basically provide a better thermal efficiency rating for the window. And a lot of times they actually insert or put a gas between the glass and inside that thermal seal because the gas is dense and it actually provides as an insulator to keep cold air out or heat from coming through the glass into the home.
So when you hear window guys talk about argon gas, it's just denser than just trapping air in.
Exactly.
So the air is an insulator factor, but then argon gas is even a better insulator factor.
Exactly.
Since windows aren't very insulating to begin with.
Exactly. I mean, your glass is an insulator, but we know, things can move through glass. You get, temperature, heat, cool can move through glass. So they add that gas to kind of trap, any of those things out. Again, the multiple panes help. The thermal seals will just seal those panes of glass together, keeping out the heat and cool.
So when you have a thermal seal, obviously the thermal seal can break.
Correct.
So what happens when the thermal seal breaks, and how much less insulating factor now do you have?
That's a good question. So windows with a thermal seal, they tend to last, it depends on the type of window, and we'll talk a little bit about that too, but when the thermal seal fails, what essentially happens is the gas escapes, and so you get normal air that exchanges between the two panes of glass, or the gas just escapes and lowers the thermal efficiency rating. Not very much, actually. Let's say it had a thermal efficiency rating of 4, it maybe goes to a 3. It's not a whole lot, but what ends up happening then is you get that air exchange and then condensation between the glass, and we all know we call that a failed seal because the window will start to get foggy or moisture will get trapped in the glass, and so that's what we refer to as a failed seal. When we see that moisture condensation, we know that thermal seal went bad. Moisture got in between that glass, and then
so then it just becomes aesthetically unpleasing to the eye because it gets all fogged up.
Exactly.
But the insulation factor isn't all that much different.
It changes a little bit, but not all that different, right? Because you still have two panes of glass, just like this window. Again, air is trapped between it, which air is an insulator. It's just not the argon gas, and it's just not as efficient, but doesn't lower it by a substantial amount.
So you can reinstate the thermal seal by just replacing the glass panes,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And they reseal it.
Glass companies will actually come out and they can take apart the window and actually reinsert or reinstall a new double pane thermal insert and basically have a brand new window again, with the exception of the casing, of course.
So if you do have fog windows that have condensation in them, you can just replace the glass. You don't need to replace the entire window.
Exactly.
So that's one tip there.
Yep.
So today we're looking at some wood windows here. And what's your feeling on wood versus vinyl windows?
A lot of people like wood windows for the look, number one. wood tends to be a little bit more durable than vinyl. Sometimes over time, the vinyl over years can get hot and it can actually expand and contract, flex. You can get warping. Sometimes the vinyl windows over the years will actually fail. The seals will fail sooner than wood, what we typically see sometimes. I mean, I've seen 30-year-old wood windows with the thermal seal that is in good shape, but I've also seen 15-year-old vinyl windows that they fail. But it's all about quality. They have windows, you could call it the Cadillac model, and you could also have the entry-level economy car model. I mean, we kind of refer to them as builder grade windows, but they just tend to last a little bit less time than, say, your higher end, higher quality, Cadillac window.
Right, so even vinyl has its range of lower grade and higher grade vinyls.
You can get what we call a single hung, double pane, base model vinyl window for maybe $150 at the store, or you can get a triple pane vinyl window, double hung, tilt in, low E, tinted for $500 or $1,000 a window if you really want to spend that kind of money, and those will actually last longer. The better quality, the better.
So what's the difference between a single hung and a double hung window?
Well, the basic difference between a single hung and a double hung is just simply single hung only one sash comes down. A double hung actually both will, and this is a double hung window. And that top sash sometimes gets stuck, especially if people don't open those often. But
single hung, only the bottom moves. Double hung, the bottom and the top will move.
Exactly.
This will come down, this will come up.
And a lot of them, if they're double hung, they'll have tilt mechanisms on the side where you can actually tilt them in to clean them and do the top as well. So that we don't have to, for instance, this is a 2-story home. You get on a ladder to clean these windows. Well,
right.
With the tilt in, it's nice.
Tilt in, it's nice. Yeah. Okay, great. So you said a couple other words there: low E, tinted. What is low E glass?
Low E, what it just simply means is low emissivity, and all that means is the capability of heat to move through an object or through something. So if it's got a low E, it just means that heat can't pass through that glass easily. So in turn makes it more energy efficient because it's keeping out the heat in the summertime, and then in the cool it's not going to let the heat escape, in the wintertime. So that's what, and sometimes you'll see almost a green tint on the glass. A lot of times that's indicative of low E windows. Yeah.
So you can also get a tint?
You can tint your windows, absolutely. Yeah.
Is that a good idea to do aftermarket or before, or when you buy the window, order on them with a tint?
That's a great question. I think it's all about comparing prices. There's companies that will tint auto glass and home glass. So you can check on pricing, what kind of pricing they have for windows, or you can look at, again, that Cadillac model may already come with that, and that may not be much more expensive to order that versus paying someone.
So would you tint all your windows, or would you only tint the ones that get a lot of sun?
I would say the ones that get a lot of sun. Your south-facing windows are the ones that are going to experience that sun, and the east and west, south-facing.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Otherwise, you're north-facing. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of sun through them anyway, so the light that you do get through them, you probably want to not tint those and
great.
Go from there. Yeah.
All right. So now condensation buildup is kind of big in the wintertime, particularly. What can I do to prevent condensation buildup on my windows, especially on my wood windows where they're kind of, getting that moisture on there and they start to kind of look bad? What can I do to prevent that?
Well, making sure you got a good seal in the window on the outside, so make sure it's caulked and sealed on the exterior helps.
Okay, so caulking. It's amazing what caulking will do for our house.
Yeah, we use that word 100 times a day.
Yes.
That's one thing, but to be honest with you, with this particular window, because it doesn't have a thermal seal and you have metal framed windows, they're going to tend to get cold and then condensate anyway, because they're cold and then they hit the warm air inside, which then causes condensation. So
is when I have my humidifier set on in the winter, does that also play into
that? Actually can. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So if you got your humidifier set to a high humidity in the wintertime for comfort, well, be advised that even vinyl frame windows, the glass can get condensation buildup because that humidifier is actually, high and causing humidity in the home.
So is it better to have a thermostatic controlled humidifier where I can kind of set the humidity level and not worry about it? Because in the winter, sometimes it's really cold, my furnace is running all the time, and sometimes it's not so cold, my furnace runs just a little bit. So Does it matter what my humidifier is set on when my furnace is running a lot or a little?
Well, typically your thermostats actually have a setting on it depending on the temperature on the exterior of the home. And so you might want to adjust that. You know, in St. Louis we tend to be in the 20 to 40 degree temperature range in the wintertime. So there's actually setting on those thermostats, or humidistats, excuse me, that you know, you can set that at. And if we operate at that level most of the time in the winter, then you're pretty safe leaving it there.
So what
you
do you
can
set,
manually
what do you
adjust
set? You
it.
set it for temperature, or you set it for humidity?
You set it for temperature outside, but then the humidity's relative to that.
I see. So they have a setting for the temperature outside. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll actually say if the temperature is between 20 degrees and 40 degrees outside, then you want to set your humidity setting at a certain percentage, and you know, usually it's like 30 to 40% humidity.
So if you're getting a lot of moisture on your windows, the first thing you probably want to do is go turn down the
your
humidity.
humidifier, if you have one in the home.
If you have one.
If not, then it's simply probably the cold temperatures outside, your heat inside, causing these to, you know, metal to sweat or condensate. And like I said, it's hard with, you know, a window like this, but if you have a vinyl window that's got a thermal seal, or even a wood window with a thermal seal, they don't tend to condensate as much. Metal frame windows, actually, they make metal frame windows too, so you got vinyl, metal, wood.
Right.
The metal ones tend to condensate the most because the cold metal hits the warm air in the home, and then it starts the condensation.
And the metal is what you typically see in older windows. You don't see them in too many newer windows anymore.
Correct. Yeah,
So
usually vinyl and wood are your choices.
Right. So if you have a home that has the metal windows, probably a great idea to either replace them, or I guess you could do something to the inside of them. You could put an extra set of storms on
You can put a storm outside, and then actually that's a good point too, Angela, because you can always even add storm windows to this on the exterior of the home, and all that's going to do is provide an extra layer of thermal efficiency, extra layer of glass, and that can keep some of that cold air exchange from happening too. So that's a good point.
Well, great tips from Rick Caby, our favorite home inspector. If you got any questions about the home, give Rick a call. If you know anybody who's buying a home or even selling a home, they do pre-inspections as well. So they're very knowledgeable. They're independent, which means they're not going to try to sell you a new window. They're going to tell you about the window, they're going to tell you about the roof, and they're not going to try to sell you a new roof because they don't do that. So it's a great independent perspective on your home, especially if you have contractors, maybe a plumber or a couple of different roofers, and they're all giving you a different story. Give Rick a call. Rick will help you sort through when you're getting different opinions, and that can happen a lot with contractors. So we always want to bring value to you and add some great tips for you for the home. Call Rick. He's awesome, pillar to post. The Chad Board team. What's your number, Rick?
314-645-7871. That is our office number. We're available 6 days a week. We work Saturdays, so a lot of people don't know that, but we do actually. You know, we certainly want to kind of reserve those for those emergencies, but we do, in fact, work Saturdays. So yeah,
awesome.
Got a great team of guys. There's actually 7 on our team, so we can actually do 14 inspections a day, which is a lot of availability. We have our own in-house sewer inspector and our own gas inspector in-house, so we provide all those services in-house to really make sure that the experience delivered is up to our expectations, and that our customers are satisfied. So.
That's awesome. We even used Rick's sewer camera guy to come out and camera one of our lines because we were having a little trouble with one of our commodes, and we just really wanted an independent assessment of what was going on. He came out, put the camera down there, told us what's wrong. Now we know what's wrong. Now we can go about trying to find someone that's going to help us fix it, but we don't have to wonder, one guy tells us one thing, one guy tells us another. So that's awesome. So I hope you're going to have a great day today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday when we're going to talk about cabinets and granite, particularly granite at the Cabinet and Granite Place in O'Fallon. Till then,